So Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis, was doing a press conference the other day, and he was asked a question from a journalist, and this went viral. They're back and forth here. For obvious reasons, you're going to see why it went viral. This was a pretty testy exchange.
Governor, what has gone wrong with the rollout of the vaccine that we've seen phone lines jammed, websites crashing?
There's a lot of demand. I mean, I think at the end of the day, excuse me.
If I could finish my question.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech, or are you going to ask a question?
With all due respect, Governor,
you asked the question. I'm going to answer it.
I'm trying to finish my question.
No, you're giving a speech. You asked the question.
I am trying to ask you the.
You're going to ask how many questions? You get 3? They only got 1 question. Why do you get 3?
With all due respect, Governor, I'm just asking if I could finish my question.
You didn't. You finished the question.
I did not. My full question is, what went wrong with the rollout of the vaccine when we've seen phone lines jammed, websites crashing?
So you're repeating your question.
To complete it for you, Governor, we've seen websites crash and also senior citizens waiting overnight for the vaccine.
Where was that at?
We've seen it in Duval, Broward, Orange, and Lee counties.
And why was, like in Lee, why did that happen? Did you investigate why?
That's my question to you, Governor. You're the governor of the state. I'm not the governor of the state.
Okay, but you didn't investigate why that like in Lee County. Why was there a big line? Did you investigate why?
Could you tell us why?
Because we distributed vaccine to hospitals, and the hospital said, first come, first serve. If you show up, we'll do it. So they didn't use a registration system. There wasn't anything that was done, and there's a lot of demand for it. So people are going to want to go ahead and get it.
So are you saying there was no plan then from the state to make sure that senior citizens didn't wait outside overnight?
So the state is not dictating to hospitals we're not dictating to Carlos Magoya how he runs his operations here. That would be a total disaster. These guys are much more competent to be able to deliver healthcare services than a state government could ever be.
So first of all, I have to say about this, it's pretty clear to me he's doing a Trump impression. Like, his whole political shtick now is just to copy Trump. And one of the main reasons I say that is it's the exact same mannerisms. Now, to be fair, Trump has now, seeped into the mannerisms of like every political person on the planet, whether it's me, other political commentators online, in the media, other politicians. There's definitely this thing where some of his hand motions, like where he goes like this all the time, that now has just become part of everybody's repertoire, because when you watch it enough, it just sort of rubs off on you, okay? So I want to give him a pass to some extent, but I also don't, because it's clear that he's copied all of Trump's mannerisms. Like, the whole thing was just every one of Trump's like patented moves, hand motions, is what Ron DeSantis is doing. So I think he, just like Marco Rubio, just like Ted Cruz, just like others, he's made an active decision, I am going to be like Trump. That's the first point. Second point is, and this one might surprise you guys a little bit, I actually don't think he's wrong in this back and forth. So was he being a dick to the reporter? Yeah, he was. But his answer to her question was, the reason why there are lines is we got the vaccines to the hospital, and the hospital said, we're going to do first come, first serve. Anybody can get the vaccine. If you want to show up and get it, show up and get it. And so if you say that in the middle of a pandemic, of course there's going to be lines. There's absolutely going to be. There's no escaping that. Everybody wants the vaccine. Now, why do I actually side with DeSantis on this? Well, very simply, we see what it's like when you don't do it like that, and New York is an example of that, and New York has vaccinated fewer people than Florida. I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, so if I was emperor and I got to make the decisions for the vaccine, yes, the first thing I would have thought was, let's have a federal system set up where people could get the vaccine from the federal government at certain places. Let's also get it to the states. Let's make sure all the hospitals get it. So you would set it up and you'd say it's essential workers first and basically older people and people who are immunocompromised. Now, if in the process of doing that, you're not nearly hitting the numbers that you need to hit, and they're not hitting the numbers they need to hit, and a lot of the vaccines are going to go bad, well, then you make the decision very quickly, okay, this isn't working, we're not vaccinating enough people, and so then I would say, okay, first come, first serve. Let's get the vaccine everywhere, distributed by the states, distributed by the individual hospitals, distributed by the federal government. There should be areas designated in every state where it's federally run and people can go get the vaccine. So, in other words, I actually think this is what you should be doing at this point. If everything was going too slowly before with the finely tuned plans and vaccines are going to go bad, yeah, open it up to everybody, for sure. Now, the only criticism of him that might be legitimate is, and this is of the federal government too, so you're delegating this stuff to the hospitals and saying, you guys go and you guys do the administering of the vaccines. Well, one way that you reduce the lines is to also have state facilities that you guys run where you could do the vaccines, and also have the federal government step in and have federal facilities where they could administer the vaccines. So you could have state-run facilities, federal-run facilities, and you can have the hospitals that are already there, which are, terrible mix of all these different networks run by different people. So that's the criticism of him that's legitimate. Hey, why don't you have state-run areas where you could get the vaccine? Because then he probably doesn't have an answer for that because he hasn't planned for that. So he'd be wrong on that front. But to blame him for the line, I actually don't agree with that. Because, yeah, if they're opening it up to everybody, which is the right thing to do right now, since a lot of the vaccines are going to go bad, you're going to have lines. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. And a lot of people who waited on that line for 24 hours to get their vaccine are still really freaking happy they got to get a vaccine. So anyway, he's copying Trump. He's a little obnoxious. He wants to fight the media. But ultimately, the place we're at now with the vaccines, yes, open it up to everybody, give it to all the hospitals, all the clinics, have state-run facilities, have federally run facilities, and let's get this vaccine out to everybody as soon as possible. We already tried the slow approach and the nitpicking certain demographic groups. It's not working. It's time to go all in. It's time to do a full court press.